Zangiefsgym here. I'm Timothy, and this is video 6.2 in my series on how to fight Menat with Zangief. I've titled this one, Use Dashing and Ranged Attacks. Okay, so why this strategy? So I've been going through these different strategies, and some of them may seem small or seemingly insignificant. You know, the overall strategy, of course, is to be able to adapt to the individual opponent, but that I'm saving that. I am actually doing a video on that, and I'll talk a little more in detail about that and give some takeaways. But just right up front here, I didn't want to do a video just on using dashing, because I felt like that would just, I could explain that in 30 seconds and that's the end of the video. But I wanted to combine that, so I combined it with using ranged attacks. So alright, using dashing. So we want to use dashing, okay, against Menat in particular, because of her vast ability to do, not only does she have a lot of ranged attacks and a lot of range in general, especially when she has a crystal ball, actually almost exclusively when she has a crystal ball, her range is good. So we really need to, and she has decent anti-air, and she's a pretty fast character. Generally, although she does have some slow moves, but still, because of the kind of character she is, she's more of a zoning defensive type character. Doesn't mean she plays defensive, okay? She definitely doesn't have to, but she's a zoning type character, and that means she's very, very good at a certain amount of distance between her and us, okay? She's very good at keeping us out here and never letting us get in here. Now, obviously, we have ways around that. We can do certain things, and if we're good at timing and we're good at fighting Menat, we can you know, get to the position where we're actually in here. But I'm saying that in general, she's good at keeping us away. So we want to use dashing, guys, because we want to be able to move in whenever possible. If she throws out this, well, okay, that's a little exception there because she can probably hit us with that. But I can dash in while she's recovering. Now I'm in front of her. Now I'm in her face. You know, now I can hit her. Even if it's only twice. Even if it's only once before she does something else like this. Still, I got one hit. Assuming I block that. Assuming I block this, I still one-upped her, right? Because I avoided her hit. I dashed in right underneath it, and then I turned around and hit her before she could barely recover. So dashing in allows us to, number one, get in closer to her, because that's what we want to do anyway with Zangief. But number two, dashing also allows us to get out of harm's way. If she's doing a lot of punches and kicks in close range, and we want to get out of there, or say she's doing a unique attack, such as that slide, or this one, you know, we want to be dashing out of the way. But not only so much, right? Because she might do that once, and then she might jump and do a kick, and we want to be able to dash underneath her. And, you know, basically dashing is just good, because if all we ever do is walk, well, we see it happens, you know, she's a lot, I mean, she can walk back as fast as we can walk forward, and then when she walks forward and we walk back, she's definitely going to beat us. Either way, she moves at least the same speed as us, okay? So if we're this far apart, let's get back in the middle somewhere. Okay, we're this far apart, and I start the chase down, I'm never going to get her if I don't dash. And to make matters worse, she's got ranged attacks that reach all the way out here practically, okay? Even that anti-air has reasonably large range. Look at our anti-air, if we're able to do it, okay? Not very good range, really. Not very good height. Look at this anti-air. She can hit us this far away, and yet she hits so high that if we dared neutral jump at this range, or even try to jump in, if we dare to do that, we're going to get hit by it. So she's got really good range, and she moves faster than we do. Okay, so if I want to escape her, you know, I better be dashing, because otherwise, even doing that, I scarcely can get out of her grasp. So I mean, not that any stretch. It's more than likely we're going to go for the chase down and not be able to catch her. And that's most likely what's going to happen, right? We're moving the same speed. I won't catch her until we get to the wall, but she knows she's getting to the wall. She's going to start doing a change her strategy. So dashes are really important. And so I would use them. I would use some caution when using them too, you know, of course, right? We don't, if she's right here, it may not be, if we're here, it may be okay to dash in, but we want to only dash in to gain ground and then immediately go back to a very aggressively guarding, a very, how can I say, guard attack. You know, we need to be able to switch modes really quickly. Switch from offense to guarding, offense to defense, offense to defense. You know, offense, defense.
I can see the future.
Dash in, that's offense. If we're dashing in, that's offensive. If we're but then we need to switch to guarding because you know, she's anticipating. She saw us dash in, so she's ready to defend herself, and she'll do that. So. But we still gained a little bit of ground because we were out here. Now we're in here. So we've gained some ground by dashing, and we're still blocking her, right? So how can we do that? Well, we can do that by dashing when she's tied up in an attack. So if she just threw this out because she thought we were going to jump and we didn't, and she got the wrong read, perfect. We just dashed in and we just gained like an SP, almost we can light SPD at this range. So and that's another point. Okay, so dashing is important to close in on her. It's important to gain ground and gain close. It's a good gap closer for Zangief against Menat. It's just one option and it's one strategy. Don't rely upon just a normal walking speed. Use dashes, whether it's back or forward. Use dashes. Okay, that's gonna. We need that quicker movement. But just be a little cautious because you are disadvantaged when you immediately start. You have to recover a little bit from the dash. So make sure it's during one of her moves that just barely missed. That's the only time I would feel free to dash. Otherwise, I would exercise caution and use it. You know, use your own use your own discretion on that. Is basically what I would say. But obviously, if she just throws something like this out, you're safe and you're out here. And she anticipated a jump, but you didn't do it. She got the wrong read. That's okay to go ahead and dash in because she's trying to recover from that kick. She can't punish you for dashing. Your frame data isn't that negative, but it is negative. I believe it's -3 on a dash in. So yeah, so just be a little cautious, but she's got to recover from this, and that's going to take her 5 or 6 frames anyway, so you can dash in, right? Okay, so enough on the dashing. Lastly, I would say about dashing is dash in and SPD is a great, you can do it. There we go. A dash in SPD is a good option against Menat because if she just getting up from something else, say I did the standing hard punch and I knocked her down, that's a good time to dash in for the SPD, okay? And that's just a general Zangief strategy anyway, regardless of Menat. But in Menat's case, we want to dash in because we want to close the gap as much as possible. As it is, she already has 100 things she can do to keep us. You know, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you know what I'm saying. She's got a lot of accessories here. She can really keep us at a range between her special abilities and V-trigger and everything. It becomes very difficult to get in on Menat because of her long range and her massive combo arrays. Her mix-ups are practically endless. She can do almost anything, right? But it's not hopeless. We have strategies and we can implement them to gain and press the advantage. Alright, that's enough on dashing. Ranged attacks. Use ranged attacks. The standing strong punch, I'll do a video on that anyway, so I don't need to go into that here. But take advantage of ranged attacks when possible. Use abilities such as a standing hard kick when the opportunity presents itself. Look for range. Another option on range, which may be overlooked, is the crouching light punch. Look how good the range is on this. Zangief's range on this is really, really good. If I just did what I talked about a minute ago and dashed in and was able to successfully do that, I can easily get her with the crouching light punch. Now, because it's 1 or 2, but you know, if we're in here, you might get a couple. Okay, that's all right. You can't do a third, that's okay. That might be a time to stand up and do the standing strong. And then she decides to jump, and she decides to jump, and yeah, you got the, you got it right there. And you kicked her because she's trying to jump. Okay. Good. Now at least she's trying to do that, and you're kicking her. So range, though, is the point of that. This has a decent range. We can hit her over here. That's good range. We can hit her over here. Again, a full Zangief character space, a full Zangief character space worth of distance, and we can still catch her with the standing strong punch. Standing strong punch is probably the best range, and then standing hard kick is also good range. And lastly, the crouching light punch, which has a fairly good range and is one of Zangief's quickest startups for normal. Okay? So that's just my thoughts on that. Take advantage of range, take advantage of those particular three moves, especially the standing hard punch and the crouching light punch and the standing hard kick. Those three probably have a good range without getting into the command grab, the running bear grab. That also has good range, but that takes time to run. Takes time to get in there and do that. That's slower. So that's a slower option. So that is still a good option for ranged attacks. That can be a good way to do it. But since we're talking about range, yeah, that's a good way. It's technically not a range attack per se, but since it can be done at a range and it's a gap closing move. That can be considered a ranged attack. It's an attack that you can do at range as long as enough time is allowed to get in there and grab her. Okay? So that's my thoughts. Use range because it's so hard to get in. It may take a lot of time and work to get in on her, so use range. Another thought process too is that even though this doesn't have a lot of range, because of the light SBD having good range, you can knee hammer and light SBD, and that actually can act as a ranged attack, a two attack combo. You're not hitting her with the knee hammer, but it does close the gap. And if she does happen to throw out a crouching light kick, I don't think I can do this at the same time. But anyway, we can knee hammer over that. So pretend she did the crouching hard kick. Pretend she did that, and I see her doing that, and I do this. Perfect. I just knee hammered over the crouching kick, and then I grabbed her with the beautiful range of the light SPD. That light SPD has the best range. I just went from being this far away to SPDing her. That's crazy, right? That's crazy. So, Zangief might not know that's possible. So that's a good way. In fact, I do that against a lot of players, not just Menat, just because it does have such good range. But against Menat, this is going to be really important because she has a lot of moves to keep us at a distance. So we want to take advantage of any kind of range attacks or a combination attack of closing the gap, and this would be more of a gap closing. I would call this gap closing plus range, gap closing plus range. The range is the light SPD. The gap closing is the knee hammer because it also jumps, which gets us over the top of crouching kicks. It gets us over the top of these, right? It gets us, we hop right over these, and then we close the gap at the same time because we're moving forward, and then we combine it with the range of the light SPD. So it's a gap closing range technique and strategy against Menat. Knee hammer SPD. Alright, that's pretty much it, guys, for dashing and ranged attacks. So you take advantage of dashing, take advantage of ranged attacks to help you damage Menat when you seemingly can't get in. Be aware of these possibilities. Again, you always have to use caution and you always have to use discretion because there may be a better option. This, the knee hammer SPD isn't always a good option. Sometimes it is, but it's a little bit slower, and in the same amount of time you could have already hit her with this punch. But this is a more damaging process, because this will do a total of 180 as opposed to only doing 100. More damage, and it may be ideal in some particular cases. Okay, so that's it. Use the dashes, take advantage of ranged attacks. Use the new hammer the knee hammer light SPD specifically, as maximizing gap closing and maximizing range. Alright guys, that's it for 6.2. Thanks so much for watching.